Hi, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of the Collab podcast. I hope you've enjoyed the last two episodes. Slowly getting into the rhythm of uploading these once a month. This will be a slightly worse recording. This month, due to some technical difficulties, you might notice the image is not as high quality as last time, but I hope that won't take away from what we will be talking about today, which is a topic I'd say some experience in, which is how to become a designer when you don't go to either a school, a university, or like go through some program. Basically, how to become a designer by teaching yourself. And that's what we're going to go into today. I'm going to kind of just go over things that I did on my way to, becoming the designer I am today, as well as some things that I would have done differently, looking back on my journey. And I hope it helps some designers out there or people who want to become designers, kind of see that you don't always have to go down the route of traditional education, that you can teach this skill to yourself. And to start off, I've divided this into, let's say, 4 parts, and we'll just go through them one by one. For part 1, this is probably the thing that I did the least of, and looking back, it's the thing that held me back probably the most from improving creatively, and is something that I did quite little of on my way to kind of getting where I am now. It's something I've just about started to do. And that is finding people who are already designers and just getting to know them, getting to talk to them, basically putting yourself out there and meeting these people. Because trust me, looking back, those connections that you can make with designers, whether they're senior designers or people who are just starting out, those are the things that will push you much quicker to becoming a seasoned designer, I think is what the word I'll use for today's podcast. And with finding people, I'm not so much talking about you have to network so that you can get jobs. Yes, that's part of it, but what I'm more leaning into is just getting to know people who are already in the area or the field that you want to get into, because they'll tell you things that would either take you a long time to learn, or you might never learn without their input, whether that's some tips or things that you could maybe change in your portfolio moving forward. Those are things that are available online but aren't tailored to where you are. It's being podcast online, I don't know your exact situation. I can't give you exactly advice to do this, and this. Because looking back on my career, that is something that, especially in the beginning, I didn't do. And I think it's something that definitely hampered the ability to gain feedback in a quicker way. Yes, you can kind of get feedback by seeing, let's say, how many clients approach you and maybe how big your Instagram account is getting, but you lack that very quick iterative feedback that you get when you actually talk with people. And for me, that's something that over the last 1 to 2 years that I've started doing more of, and I've seen the effects. And I think also a part of this advice for some people might also be finding a mentor, finding somebody who can kind of be that one person that you go to while working on building your portfolio, building your career, and so on. But also, if you can't find that person, don't worry. You can also do what I did, which is you don't have a mentor that knows that they're mentoring you, but you have somebody that you follow online who you really find that the way they speak and what they speak about resonates with what you're looking for. And you just kind of follow that person religiously. Maybe not take their word as gospel, but really listen to what they're saying and try and just implement that in your day-to-day. And I think that's another way you could kind of get that mentorship in the early phases of your career. And before we move on to part 2, a quick side note, even with a mentor, even with finding lots of people, after a year, you most likely will not be the bee's knees. You will feel like you've got a huge amount of knowledge, and which you have. In that year, you will have moved forward a lot as let's say, a designer, but even after, let's say, a year or maybe even 2 years or 3 years, there'll still be quite a lot that you have yet to learn about design. And I think it's just important to remember that staying humble, which is quite the Instagram quote, is actually very important when you're starting out, because you need to be able to take that feedback. And I understand that is much harder than it sounds. It's very easy to say that here, but it takes work to do that IRL. And moving now on to the second part of what I wanted to talk about, and this advice I think I could put down to one word. It's a bit of a heavy word, but I think it fits well, which is sacrifice. And by sacrifice, I don't mean giving up everything to become a designer. That's not what I'm trying to get at here. What I'm more talking about is that the speed at which you become, let's say, better, whether that's, the best designer in the world or a good designer, which the world needs lots of good designers, is dependent on how much work you put in. If you put in 1 hour a month into becoming a designer, it's going to take you a lot longer than if you're able to put in an hour a day, for example. But of course, this doesn't also mean that, in my opinion, I think you should overdo it. I think there is an ability to overdo trying to become better creatively, because with creativity, I do find there is a limit to how much time you can spend before, let's say, those returns on investment, so how much better you're becoming, slows down. Like if you're sitting 12 hours a day trying to become a better designer, at the end of the day, yes, you might have learned something, but your brain is going to be so tired from trying to be creative that you will have forgotten most of the things that you've learned during the day, and next day you'll have to start basically afresh. Which is why I think it depends. It definitely depends on what's your, let's say, capacity for learning, but it can be overdone. And I don't mean spending all of your time just doing design, because you do need some of that external input, which helps you, see things in a different way, whether that's, going to art galleries or just even going for a walk can help, let's say, take in what you've learnt and also help you let's say, see things in a different way and start working and building that like creativity muscle. So in general, I would say that if the quicker you want to become better at design or any kind of creative endeavor, the more time you can put into it without, of course, going, let's say, over that limit and starting to tire your brain out more than it's, let's say, learning, in my opinion, is needed to speed up that process. And everybody will have their own balance for this. I can't tell you how many hours. You just kind of need to test and see, hey, if I spend 3 hours every week, is that too much? Or is it, 8 hours a week or 10 hours? Or is it, I can do an hour a day, but then I have to do that every other day. You need to kind of test and find that limit and see how often you can, let's say, get close to that without going over it too often. But in general, the more time you can put towards, let's say, working on your design, whether that's, doing your own projects, looking at other portfolios, watching videos, learning, and so on and so forth, the better you'll become. And sometimes that means some late nights, but I think overall you just need to find that balance and try and keep that. And for part 3, or the third piece of advice I have, which is probably the most important out of these 4, and it's even more important, in my opinion, than finding those people who can mentor you and so on and so forth, is doing your own projects. Do not just wait for clients to come and give you projects. You need to do your own projects, because whether it's a poster or, a rebrand, a website, whatever it is, if you're doing your own projects, not only are you kind of pushing the limits of your creativity and trying to, let's say, maybe emulate what other people have done, but you're also allowing yourself to create projects that are better than what your current clients allow you to do. because if you only do client projects, your work in your portfolio will only be as good as your best client. The best client that allows you the most freedom and ability to do what you want. And in my experience, yes, there are good clients out there, but there's always a limitation. There's always something that you need to do with the project, what it needs to achieve, which always means it will never quite be something that you're just doing for your own kind of creative exploration. In my case, doing a lot of these like self-initiated projects where I think for a while I was doing these kind of Instagram stories, which were just posters based on some image or websites or rebrands and so on and so forth, or just something that was born out of an idea and it kind of ran with it. Those are the things that allow you to kind of start distilling what is your style, what is the way you like to work, what are the things you like to work on. Because with client projects, yes, you can kind of start to figure out, but you don't get to do that free form play of just seeing what you like, what you don't like, and going into that. And in my journey, that was very important that I got to do those self-initiated projects. At the beginning, they were rebrands, then it kind of posters, websites, ideas, just kind of throwing those ideas out and seeing what you like, what you don't like, and getting closer and closer to what your style and the way you like to work is. Because once you start doing that and showing that to the world, a funny thing happens that you start attracting companies, clients, and people that just like the way that you do something. And that's when it becomes a lot easier to find those clients and work with them, because you have something that can't quite be replicated by anybody else. It's something that's unique to you, and you're able to work on projects that you just like more, because the projects you get are closer to the projects that you just do in your spare time. So generally they're projects that are much nicer to work on. And finally, it will also give you something to show to all those people that you've hopefully met already and gotten to know. You're able to go to them and show them, hey, I did this, what do you think? Maybe I should iterate, maybe I should have done this different or something, and so on and so forth. Without those self-initiated projects, it's sometimes hard because, I don't know, you signed an NDA, you can't show the project before it's done. It's also not feedback on something that is completely yours, and maybe you just need to experiment technically with it. But if it's a client project, it's kind of like, yes, this typography is good, maybe change it to this. And that's about the extent, because you don't have time to go and spend 3 days testing different things. You have a deadline to meet. And to finish off, I think for me, this is a non-negotiable. If you want to become a designer, you need to do your own projects. It's going to be something that you will see makes you better with every single project. You will, after a while, also look back on those first initiated projects and be like, well, that was not great. But you also needed to do that first initiated project to be able to get to where your 10th, your 20th, your 25th project, which at some point you start going like, okay, even though I made this a year ago, it still looks good. Now moving into, let's say, the final part of this episode, this is not one piece of advice, it's just a few things that I would recommend to most people, and will kind of be those cherries on top that maybe will help you, move faster forward. So without further ado, one of those first pieces of like mini advice that I would give is, if you can find like 1 or 2 really good courses online, those can really like push your bar up, especially if like the person leading the course is able to, let's say, not only instill technical knowledge, but also art direction and how things should be constructed in a proper way, and not only just to look nice. Those are things that can really help like speed up your advancement. It's also a great place to meet people. I know that more and more courses offer communities alongside them where you can go in and ask, and maybe even from those communities you can make a few friends, meet those friends, and start to develop those relationships. The second micro piece of advice I'd give would be to read a few design books. I know for designers that might sound quite terrifying to look at something other than a computer screen. But trust me, it really does help. There's a book I have on my desk, Grid Systems by Brockman. I recommend heavily that you read this. It will probably change the way you look at how you design. There's also another book that I have yet to read. I'm giving advice that I haven't taken, called Don't Make Me Think by Stephen Krug. I think I'm saying that right. And that's another book I think I'd recommend people to read, especially from a UX perspective. So if you can just pull out a good design book and read that, I think it's a good way to spend your afternoon away from the computer and also learn something at the same time. And the final bit of, let's say, advice that I would have would be to really just enjoy the journey. It's very easy to go I want to become an art director. I want to become a studio founder or an agency or something. I want to start an agency or something like that. Yes, those are nice things when you're a designer, but I think most designers that are, let's say, happy within their careers, the thing that they all have kind of in common is that they really just enjoy doing good design and not so much, let's say, the whole thing around it of, you're an agency owner or you're a creative lead or art director and so on and so forth. Those are nice, but most designers just want to do good design. So try and kind of take that time to enjoy doing that good design, because that's what I assume is the reason you wanted to become a designer, because you saw all these beautiful posters and websites and so forth, and you wanted to create those. Try and focus on enjoying the moments when you get to do those things, because that's where you're going to spend a lot of time, and I think it should be something that you try to in some way enjoy. And that pretty much finishes off. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you find the advice I've given here helpful, and also if you don't agree with the advice I've given, leave a comment. I'm happy to discuss. I don't think I know everything about how to become a designer. I'm just sharing how I got here and what I think are important things in becoming a designer. And to quickly do some housework, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe. I think that likes are here, subscribe is here. So press those two buttons if you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next episode.